Hi, my name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and I am happy to be here this morning for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday where we get together to talk about book marketing, publishing, writing, the whole gamut of what an author or a publisher might go through during the writing and publishing process. We do take questions live at newshelves.com/FAF. However, if you can't join us live at 10 a.m. Eastern on Fridays, you are welcome to email your questions in to info, at newshelves.com, and I will answer them live, and you can catch the replay over on YouTube. On YouTube, we're just New Shelves Books. Please follow and subscribe so you get those updates. We also have tutorials that go up on YouTube. This week, I believe we dropped a tutorial on how to convert a Word document into an ebook for free using Draft to Digital. So that's the kind of content that we try to put out in addition to our YouTube replays. And we've got questions that were emailed. We've got questions live, so we're going to join in. And let me see. Yes, we also do try to stream to Facebook, which we are doing today as well. So we've got it up on both avenues. Help focus me. Point me in the direction of how to publish a children's book. Well, Ed, I always say I'm part therapist, part publishing consultant. So if you're looking to do a children's book, I think there are some really important things that you need to decide before you get started. Number one, what age group are you going to be writing for? Because it is vastly different, because children learn so quickly and the aging is just so different. Whereas when we get into young adult books, young adult fiction or adult fiction is not that different, right? Some of the content is different, but the writing's not that different. But when we're talking about kids, like younger kids, the difference between a board book and a preschool book and a middle grade or a teen book, they are so vastly different because of the language that we use, whether or not it's going to have illustrations. These things will completely determine how successful your book will be. So the first thing I always recommend is, if you want to write a book for children, decide what age group you'd like to write for. And when you're thinking about a target age, it should be no bigger than 2 to 3 years max. So please don't tell me I want to write a book for 5 to 15-year-olds. No, that doesn't work. You can tell me I'd like to write a book for 1st and 2nd grade, or I'd like to write a book for middle school, which ranges typically from 6th to 8th grade. That works. But the first thing, decide the age group that you would like to write for. Then, if you've got a story idea, think about if that age group can really digest that content. If you've got a story about, maybe you've got a story about inclusion, and so your story is going to be about a little boy who was born without a hand and making friends at school, and how the classroom learned to be inclusive and that everyone's different. Okay, great. Then you need to make sure that if you're writing this book, if it's for middle grade, what does that look like? How much can a middle grader really digest, and what kind of language do you need to use for them? If you are using this story and you're trying to make it for like kindergarten, 1st grade, you need to think about illustrations. What kind of illustrations are you going to have? What kind of language? How can you simplify this really big concept? Because certainly if we're going into middle grade, then we're going to probably delve more into the dynamics of relationships and bullying and independence. Whereas if you are doing this for little children who are kindergarten, 1st grade, it's going to look vastly different. It's going to look, everyone's different and we can all be friends. And just because someone's different from you doesn't mean that they're scary. So that is kind of the difference. Find your age group and then find your story, and make sure that your story can be adapted to the age group that you would like to write a book for. Then you come up with your story, and typically your story is going to come first. Then if your age group would include a picture book and illustrations. And typically, if you're writing for anywhere from 3rd grade down, you will have illustrations, heavily illustrated. Then your illustrations typically are going to be scenes of the book. So the book comes first and then illustrations. And then you either work with a publisher or you get it formatted so that the illustrations either go side by side with your words or the words are actually worked onto the page with that picture book. So this is, I will say, that is a vast oversimplification, but those are the things before you get started. Decide your age, decide your story, and decide how your story can work for the age that you want to target. Start there, because if you come back, I have this all the time. I'm working with a book right now and the author goes, well, anyone could love this book. I think it could work anywhere from 5th to 12th grade. Not only will that not work, because it really doesn't. Now, maybe a 5th grader could read it. Maybe a 12th grader would enjoy it, but it doesn't work because, number one, that's too big of a market to market to. It's, you know, a Target is small. Yes, a Target has bigger elements to it, but a Target in the heart of it is small, and your audience, your person, your avatar of who you're writing to should also be small. And on top of that, especially with children, the emotional intelligence of a 5th grader and a 12th grader are very different. Their life issues are going to be different. The language and the vocabulary is different. So I'm not saying that people outside of your target age range will not or could not enjoy a book, but you need to be very targeted in who you're writing and marketing to if you actually want to get the book out there and make sales. Of course, my son is reading a book I read when I was a kid and I loved it. And I was like, oh, I could pick that up and read it again. I can read it in an hour. He will take several days to read this chapter book. So can an adult enjoy this book? Yes. Was it written for me? No. So those are the things I would think about as you go and think about tackling a children's book. I hope that helps. All right, another question we had come up, and this is a good one. This is from Pam. I've uploaded my ebook to Draft to Digital. 2 companies, Kobo and Apple, are refusing to carry it unless I change the reference in my book to their competitors. What the heck? Why are you talking about their competitors, Pam? How dare you? Really, what this is many times in the back of a book, many times a author will put the words, if you enjoyed my book, please leave a review over at Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And that's what Pam did. And the problem with this is that Apple did not like that you mentioned Amazon. They did not like that you mentioned Barnes and Noble because it is their competitor. And if it's an ebook, chances are that you might have linked to those places as well. So you are literally helping drive traffic from Apple to their competitors, and that's a no-go. They really don't like it. So in that case, I will say that if your book is on Kindle exclusive and you're on Amazon, can you say leave a review or even mention Amazon or Goodreads? Sure. However, that will often get kicked back. So sometimes you can list out all of the places. You can say Apple or Kobo or Barnes and Noble and list them all out for review. And sometimes that squeaks by because at least it's equal. But I have found that if you don't want a headache, it is better to simply say, if you enjoyed my book, please go leave a review at your favorite retailer, because they're immediately going to think of whatever retailer they went and bought it from. Or please leave a review at your favorite retailer and review site. So maybe they'll go to Goodreads, maybe they'll go to BookBub. I don't know, but they have options. So that's typically what I would do. And the question now is, since you didn't do that from the beginning, what are your options? Is it smart to go back and ask your ebook designer to take that out of your ebook? I would, and here's why. If you're going to go wide, you want the most exposure possible. And if you're not in Kobo and you're not in iBooks, you're selling yourself short. Now, do Kobo and iBooks have massive number of sales? You guys know, because I've talked about it, that Amazon is estimated to have 91% of ebook sales. However, depending on your genre, that's the general number, but that's not necessarily the case. If you have hard-boiled crime, if you have nonfiction, your sales will be higher in some cases on other platforms. And I will say that Kobo's doing a lot of things, a lot of updates, and I'm seeing more and more sales coming from Kobo, especially for books that get international interest. So if your book might get interested in Germany or Australia or Canada, seeing a lot of those sales coming from Kobo. So you've already done the work. You've already decided to go wide. I personally would go back to your ebook designer and ask if that change can be made. Most of the time, because it's a small change, your designer's not going to charge you a full fee for ebook design. They're going to charge you a very small fee for editing the file. And I would personally do that because you're going to go wide, give your book the best chance possible. I know it's a hassle and I'm sorry, but that is my honest advice, is why even sell yourself short and possibly miss sales when you've done all the work so far? You might as well go ahead, finish strong, get it up there, and certainly learn the lesson for next time so you don't run into this again. Let's see. Cheryl says, I did Brian Cohens Author Ad Profit Challenge in July, and it was great. I feel like Tony the Tiger there. Should I plan to join in again for his October challenge? I did buy Publisher Rocket as a result, so maybe more training on how to maximize that software is a better investment of my limited learning time. What do you think? So there are people, Cheryl, who will do Brian Cohen's Author Ad Profit Challenge again and again and again. For those of you who don't know, Brian is this rock star at Amazon Ads. He teaches authors how to run their own ads. He really breaks it down. He simplifies it and takes you step by step. So if you are a beginner at Amazon Ads, when he has his ad profit challenges, she has another one coming up in October. It's free to sign up. It's 5 days. Well, it's 5 days, but it's kind of split over 2 weeks because it was too much for a lot of people. A lot of people really enjoy it. Now, some people are like, too much for me, don't like it. It's too much fiddling, but some people who really like the breakdown and want to learn ads enjoy it a lot. So I think it's an awesome program. For some people, they will take it again and again because you may have done ads in July and then you kind of slowly back off and aren't doing it, or you get stuck on something and you get frustrated. So some people will go back again and again because it helps them be accountable and it helps them kind of move forward. If that's you, I think, sure, why not? It's a free program for this short, limited time. So why not do it and go ahead and get it checked out? If, however, you feel like you got what you need out of it and you're going forward with your ads and you just need to learn how to use your tools better, and you've got, as Cheryl does, a very limited learning time, I would personally be going to, if Publisher Rocket does have a YouTube page with tutorials, I would be going there. I'd be going to Dave Chesson's page and seeing what they offer if that's where you really feel you need the most learning, because that is where that resource is. Go take advantage of it and go there. But for people who maybe just need to jump back in, they need more accountability, I will say the Amazon Ad Profit Challenge comes with an amazing Facebook group where people can really put in, like, if you're trying to think of like your tagline or your ad copy, you can post it there, and there are thousands of active authors who are like giving you feedback and suggestions and that kind of thing. So it can be a very valuable community. That chat group, the Facebook group, is only open during these ad challenges and then it shuts down. So I think, as it always does, comes back to you and your goals and what you really need at the moment. If it's the motivation and you jump back in, do the challenge again. If not, you know you need something else, go find that resource and maybe set aside the same time to get it done. And that's what I would recommend for you. A question from Meredith, and I know Meredith isn't on the call because she told me that she always listens when she goes to work on Tuesday. But I know you watch these replays, Meredith. So the question Meredith had was, I'm attending my first writers conference in November. She's going to Crime Bake, which is in Boston and is awesome. So if you're a mystery writer, Crime Bake is a great place for you. And anyway, so she's attending her first writers conference in November. She's a new author with just a few short stories published, and she's trying to just kind of build a community, raise name recognition, and build relationships here. Her book's not scheduled to come out until January 2024. So we've got some time before this book comes out. But she's wondering what kind of business cards or freebies could she use to give away at this conference in order to be memorable. So yes, you can just do a business card for sure. If you meet people, and I will say this, even if you're not speaking at a conference, anytime you're going to a book signing, a conference, anything, get yourself some business cards. You can get them from Vistaprint. You can get them from your local printer. They're not expensive. Even if you don't have a book, get business cards made up with your contact information. That could be your name, your email address, your website. Maybe it's your book. If you've actually got a book out, you can have your book cover and a one-liner. But get business cards, because when you are talking to a bunch of people at a conference, you know, you're doing the, oh, I should get your email address. Oh, I don't have a piece of paper on me. Do you have it? Well, write it on my hand, and then I wash my hands, and then it's gone. This is a tool that you should have, because it's a way for you to easily give your contact information to someone to keep in touch. Whether that be a conference person and a speaker, or someone who is who you just want to collaborate with and be friends with. Either way, it's awesome to have. But the question kind of becomes, business card, good. You should have those on hand. They're a staple. It doesn't matter if you've already written one book, no books, 100 books. You should have some basic business card that you can pass out. But are there other things that you could make or give away that make you memorable? And the question that Meredith had was, she is writing a historical fiction, and she was thinking of doing a recipe card. So pulling something from the time period of her upcoming book, or that's actually a recipe that's in her book, or that is being made in her book, and making it into a recipe card. And I adore that idea. I think it's memorable. And if people like the idea of the recipe, they are more motivated to take that puppy home and actually use it. So I love that idea. I have a friend and client, Sue Breen, who did this. Her character, Maggie Dove, loves bread pudding. And so Sue put her recipe, her personal recipe for bread pudding, onto a 4x6 card, and it's got the recipe on the one side, and on the other side is Sue's information and information on her book. They're very popular because people like recipes, especially she's a cozy mystery author, and cozy mystery readers really like recipes because we really like food. And so it worked out beautifully. And that is a great way to stand out, even if you don't have a book yet. Other things I've seen, Bob Eckstein, genius that he is, has a book on stress. And he made his book into little stress balls. It was like a book. I showed them on Free Advice Friday before. It was like a little book that had the name on it. And it was a stress ball to go with the stress humor book. Bookmarks can be something very creative. I've always said something that people are motivated to keep because they want to use. Chapstick is one of my favorites. Why? Because we all need some chapstick, right? I've seen hand sanitizer pens. Again, it's something that people would use and might keep, although there's a lot of pens floating around at conferences. I have seen notepads. It really depends, number one, on how much you want to invest in it, and if you can find a tie into your book. I think those are the best, the ones that make a tie into your book that make sense. Let me see. I know we've got comments over here. I know our little area over here is full. 4x6 postcards work, says Pat. I put contact info on the front and a coloring page on the back. Perfect for a children's book, having something that is interactive that kids might want to use. I love that. Cheryl's saying you can also include a QR code to your book page or where you want to sign up your newsletter. Yes, QR codes, I really think we're on their way out. That is, of course, like the little postage stamp sized barcode kind of thing that people can hover their camera over and it pulls it up on a website. And I think these are absolutely on their way out. However, when COVID came, people didn't want to touch things. We were not reusing paper products and things like that. So QR codes made a comeback. Restaurants were using them. People were using them all over. And I think people kind of like them again. So QR codes are a great way to have an easy way rather than someone, especially you guys, especially if you have a website that's tricky. I have a client, Chris Bennett, but chrisbennett.com was taken. So his website is chrisabennett.com. I cannot tell you how many people go, I tried to find your website and I couldn't. So he's perfect, ideal for a QR code because not only can he have his website down there, but he can have the QR code that will automatically take them to the right website. So that can be a super great idea. And you can even take them to a sign up or a landing page. Let's see. And Bob's saying he's used modern Postcard for some 4x6s, $100 for 250 of them. So again, it depends on how much money you want to put into it, but very creative. I think it is the way to stand out is by having something that people are like, oh, I want to use this. I've been at a lot of conferences lately and I have a lot more coming up. What else have I seen? Highlighters. Highlighters are a cool one because everyone gives away pens. Not everyone gives away highlighters. Stickers. I've seen stickers. If it's for kids, I have seen, although this doesn't stay around forever and ever, if it's for kids, having products that are like temporary tattoos, very cool. Yeah, my kid definitely went to picture day with like 15 tattoos on his arm, temporary tattoos that were mostly worn off. And so it just looks like he's got some weird splotches all over his skin because we are on top of things and know how to picture day around here. So again, something creative, something that ties into your book, and look at your budget and be honest. I mean, what are you trying to get out of this? If you're really trying to make connections and stand out, great. But if you don't have a product to sell yet, you don't have a book to sell, how much money do you want to put into this, knowing that the return is simply going to be those relationships at this point? So keep that in mind. And maybe there's a digital download. Maybe you're going to have a simple business card and on the back is going to be a QR code to go download something free. Maybe that's it. Just keep in mind your audience too. Are you connecting with other authors who maybe aren't so interested in getting your story, or are you that kind of thing? So like at conferences, I personally do giveaways for things like a master class where I can send people to my YouTube and they can get a unlisted class, or I'll give them away handouts from the class or templates from the class. So think of that as well and tie it in as much as you can. Yes, Bob offers a free subscription to his monthly cartoon newsletter, which is fun. The Bob is fun. And so yeah, be creative with it. I think the recipe card is a great idea though. I think it's very fun. Whatever you choose, try not to make it too unwieldy. If you give people something that's too big and awkward to hold, chances are when you're walking around at a conference, you don't always have a bag with you. So they may end up getting left on tables. I have seen that. So just keep that in mind as well. Is there a tech trend that's replacing QR codes? I don't think so. QR codes, like I said, they're kind of just fading out in general, but now they're coming back. And I don't think that they're being replaced by anything to my knowledge. I think that those QR codes are here for at least a couple more years until I was talking to someone about writing books and how he was having such a hard time getting it from his head just onto the page. He had the story, but he's having a really hard time getting it from his head to the page. And he was like, man, I'm just waiting for a few more years when they make these hats where I'm going to put this hat on and it's just going to read what's going on in my head and translate it onto a screen, which will probably be there in a few years. Let's be honest. All right. I want to get to the rest of the questions that we had emailed in. Whoops. If I could actually click on it. Eileen, I know you had a question and I found it. Here we go. All right. Eileen was asking, how do authors collaborate with other authors when it comes to writing and publishing anthologies? How does an author go about this process, and do you have to be well known to collaborate with them? I love this question because anthologies and collaborations can be a really fun way to work with other authors. So there are a couple ways that you can work in an anthology. You can start one. You can say, hey, I want to publish an anthology. I'm getting a bunch of ghost stories or horror stories together for next October, and I want to make sure that it's available. And then you go and either have a landing page where people can submit their stories or their story ideas, or you reach out to individual authors and say, hey, do you want to be in this anthology? Are you willing to do this? And so that's one way to do it. Another way is there are a lot of places, writing groups, conferences, clubs that are already doing anthologies, and they have a submission page where you can pitch your story and ask to be a part of their anthology. You don't have to be famous or well known. You've got to have a great story idea, and you can pitch it that way. So that's another option. Some publishers, some mid-level and small press will also do anthologies where you can submit a short story or something along those lines. And if it's chosen, you go on the anthology. If it's not, you still have rights to your work. Or sometimes I've seen this more and more, writers groups get together. I have been so pleased to work with the First Coast writers, romance writers, First Coast romance writers. There we go. FCRW. And they are in Florida, and the First Coast romance writers have done 3 anthologies now. They're all romance writers, so all of their books are very romance. And they have done 3 volumes. They've done one that was really focused around Christmas. They've done one that was just short stories. And this is simply a writer's group. And I know I've said this before. If you're writing a book, I highly, highly encourage you, get into a writer or a critique group. I don't care if it's a big group like Romance Writers of America, or if it's just a local group in your area. I don't care if it's online. I don't care if it's in person. Get with other writers who can encourage you, who can be your beta readers, who can give you honest feedback, and who can help you grow as a writer. It's one of those things. Sometimes they're free. Sometimes there's a month, or not a monthly. Sometimes there's a yearly fee. So a lot of them are like $100, maybe $150 a year, and that kind of goes towards getting speakers and things like that. But get in there, be a part of it. And that's a really great way sometimes to start an anthology, because the group will do an anthology. And so you either start it yourself, or you go looking for people who are already doing it and you make friends with them and you submit. And you may not get chosen for a bunch of them, but when you do, it'll be awesome. And I do think anthologies are a really fun way to connect with other authors, to work collaboratively. Now, when you do that, you do want to be crystal clear if you are giving your book to an anthology. Is it exclusive? How long is it exclusive? Is it something where the short story or the book is exclusive to this anthology for 1 year, and then you can do with it what you please? Or is it something where it's forever and ever, amen, but you're getting payment disbursements, or it's being donated to a certain charity, that kind of thing. And I will also say, if you've got a short story and you're like, it's not enough for a book, but I want it somewhere, consider magazines. There are still both printed and electronic magazines that do print short stories, specifically in fantasy, science fiction, and mystery. They still do a lot of short stories. The Alfred Hitchcock Magazine still does mysteries. I have a client who has done quite a few there. So there are also magazines where you can just submit your one single short story to and still get that collaborative feel of being promoted by other people and validated through their platform as well. Yeah, and science fiction and narrative. That's a really good point. And poetry. Poetry submissions are still huge. Writers Digest does one. There's a couple other ones that do it. And Cheryl's saying Allison Williams, the A-list, hosts free co-writing sessions 5 days a week, and it might be a nice way to connect. Exactly. There are groups, and find if you've got a certain genre you write in, if you go search on Facebook or if you Google it, you'll find it. Like I am a member of, there's a group called the Writing Gals, and it's this big group of mostly indie published women who are writing romance novels, but it's all fairly PGG, it's clean romance fiction. And the Writing Gals has this big platform in Facebook, and they have groups that'll do writing sprints. They have a conference that I'm a part of coming up in October. They have a virtual romance conference where they've got this big lineup. So find your people, find your group, and then connect. And through those connections is usually where things like collaborations and anthologies will come about. Or you can, again, go seeking those collaborations specifically. And, you know, sometimes you'll find them easily, sometimes not so much, but you don't know until you try. All right. On another note, many of you know that I have used for formatting. If you are formatting your own book, you have a couple of options. Vellum is a very popular formatting software. It's, I believe, a one-time purchase, but it's meant for Mac. And it's a couple $100, so it is an option that a lot of people use, but something that's newer to the market that's not Mac specific. It actually is meant for PC, and it's used online, is Atticus.io. And Atticus.io, or Atticus, is a formatting software that Dave Chesson put out. It is fabulous. It's a one-time buy. It's very inexpensive. I think it's $150 still. I don't think he's raised his price. But you can either write in this program, or you can upload a Word document. It'll separate it out. It'll create you a table of contents. It'll give you design options. There's somewhat limited design options, but it does the job. So if you're looking to format something fairly simple, very text heavy, I would not necessarily recommend this for like a nonfiction book with a lot of graphs or something like that, unless you are really committed to learning this program. I would not recommend that. But if you are writing fiction novels, anything like that, it's a great little program. It's easy to use. It's one-time fee. You have the license for forever. You access it online. So it's not like a license that's on your computer. It is online and you can access it from anywhere, which is super nice. And it helps you format for both PDF and ebooks. So nice features there. And they have just announced that they have added footnotes and endnotes. So they are current, throughout the process. Dave Chesson, as we know, is someone who, he's our tech guy, right? He creates all the fabulous things like Publisher Rocket, which we love for keywords and categories. And he is constantly updating the software and adding new things to it. And once you've paid, you get all those upgrades for free. So highly recommended. I'm not affiliate. I get no kickback. I just think it's an awesome program and I think you should know about it. And now they just announced, I think it was last night or this morning, that they now have footnotes and endnotes available on Atticus. And that's kind of coming down the pipeline, which is cool. I love that there are still new things kind of being added to it that we can access. And so again, I wouldn't necessarily use this for something that's like super nonfiction, has like a giant index and things like that. It can be used for that, but I think you will cry and you will bang your head on your desk a lot. And so if you're really on a tight budget, you can try it. If not, highly recommend you go with a formatter for that. Atticus is ATTICUS.io. I will drop I will drop it in the chat and I can actually share my screen and show you what the website looks like so you know you're in the right place. Let's see. Not that one. Not that one either. Did I mention I have too many windows open? Did I mention that? All right, this is not what I wanted to show you, but we'll pull it up here. Atticus IO. So it looks like this, right? Format stunning books. And let's actually see what the price is right now. As of today, the price is complete order. It doesn't tell me. I'm sure it does if I looked harder. Oh, there we go. It does if I look harder. It is currently $147 USD. You get it forever and ever, amen, as long as there is internet. So I think it's great value if you're looking to format your own books. All right, and one more question that we had was about editing. Kate was asking, number one, about where to find an editor. And actually one of her first questions was, I need to know what the different types of editors are and what they do. So what is a developmental editor? What is a copy editor? What is a proofreading editor? I need to know the differences so I know who to hire, which is super valid. That is a great question. And I was able to share with Kate a YouTube video that we've already got up. If you go to newshelves.com/newshelvesbooks and you type in editing, it's the different types of editing. We have this video that is all about the different types of editing explained. We had the wonderful Erica McIntyre on and we pulled that clip out and she goes through what we call the editing funnel and basically how we start with our developmental edit, which is kind of like developing the story. Then we go to our copy edit, which is line by line, looking at the grammar, syntax, blah, blah, blah. And then our proofreading, which is just to final catches. And typically proofreading happens after your book has already been formatted. So we're looking for any wonky lines or text that's been stretched or squished or broken, whatever it is. So if you go to YouTube, look up that YouTube video and you can see the editing funnel, and that will tell you about the different types of editors. Because when you're looking for an editor, it's really important that you know what kind of editor you need, because if you hire a proofreader when you really need a developmental edit, you're going to be hurting. And if you pay for a developmental edit when you're looking for a proofread, if you're ready to get this book out there and you want to finalize on it, and you pay a developmental editor, they're going to be telling you how you can develop and change your story, and you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to pay a lot more than you would a proofreader. So you do need to know what kind of editor you need so you can find that person. Some editors do the gamut, but most of them kind of stick in their lane with one option or the other. And then the question came up, where do I find an editor? Okay, once I decide I need a developmental editor, where do I find this editor? One of the best places that you can go is the EFA, and the EFA stands for, I'm going to go look at it because I don't remember. At least I'm honest, right? Editorial Freelancers Association. So the EFA is a great resource because not only does it give you like average rate for editors, so you can look at pricing, they also have a list of people that have been like vetted by them that you can look through. There are editors over on Readsy. You can go to Readsy and look for editors there. Really great way. Go to your writing groups, go to your colleagues and ask who they're using and who they're happy with. Sometimes editors do better if they are specific to a genre. So there are many times where like someone who is a romance book editor does better sticking to romance books because they know those tropes, they know what works there. And some things that work in, let's say, romance writing do not work in nonfiction. They don't work in literary fiction. So that kind of thing can be really helpful. I'm also going to drop, if you go to newshelves.com/people-we-like, So people we like at New Shelves Books, you can just Google that as well. We do have a list of people we like, and it does include a list for editors and places to find editors, as well as formatters and cover designers and all that kind of thing. It's not an exclusive list. It's not everyone we've ever recommended or worked with, but it is a list of people that we think are fabulous. And if you offer a service for authors and you think that you would be a great fit, feel free to send it to me. And if I agree with you, I'll put it on the list. Because that's what we're about here at New Shelves, is making sure that we facilitate connections and we help authors find the right people to work with, because I think that's really important in this business. So if you're looking for an editor, first step is to find out what kind of editing you need. Second step is to go find them. EFA.org, Readsy, people we like over at New Shelves, ask your writing groups. I think that's kind of the places I would start and go with from there. Oh, well, I am so glad we are right here at 11. I think we're all done with our questions, but you all, I'm so glad you joined us, whether you are listening to our replay or you've joined us live. Thank you for joining us here. You guys are an awesome group. I appreciate you. We'll be back next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you've got questions, join us live at newshelf.com/FAF. It is free. Or you can email your questions into info@newshelves.com. I save those questions up and answer them on Friday so we can get them all in. Thank you all. Enjoy your weekend, and we will talk next week. Bye-bye.